Good evening and welcome to Trudy and Friends. And today with me, my friend Kathy Lee, the original, can you imagine that? And my other friend, Jerome Roberts, the Philadelphia Gator. And we welcome to both of them and to you. And I've been disturbed for the time that we've been apart because there's been so much happening with weather. First, we have tornadoes and we have floods, and it's just so much going on that we thought we'd just take a whack at it. And Kathy Lee said, I'll do it. I want to do it. So, Kathy Lee, you're ready and go, girl.
And thank you so much, Trudy and friends and Jerome and hello, audience. Well, if you're like me and you have one of these devices and you're lying in bed, 1 o'clock, all of a sudden you get this phone alert. And what happened to me it's happened to me quite often now is go immediately to your basement and seek shelter. There's a tornado or a flash flood. And a lot of people don't take that stuff seriously, but I kind of do because I watch my little dog Spark. And when Spark doesn't get into bed and he goes looks for a closet, I know it's time for me to get the heck up, pay attention to the animal, and go on downstairs and do what they say. That's what
Well,
I do.
hold tight, Kathy. We haven't had this. No, there would be a reason to get something like that contraption. We haven't been accustomed to this kind of change in weather all of a sudden, particularly. What's going on?
Well, well, the planet is angry. Mother is angry, and all 98% of scientists all say that it is caused by humans. It's all humans, whether or
Mm,
not it is greenhouse gases or carbon. You know, they're talking about leaving your carbon footprint.
yeah.
Everything that happens to us occurs because of our behavior. And one of the reasons why it's happening is because no one has respect for the planet. We don't have respect for species. We don't even have respect for humans. And when you come from that kind of worldview, that fractured worldview, where you are not a part of nature, you want to do like what we used to do in literature. There are like four themes: man versus God, man versus himself, man versus another man, and man versus nature. And here we are thinking that we're going to control and fight nature, and nature is going to win, and we're going to be the losers. All you have to do is look at what the challenges and the chaos that are created by climate change and how we're treating people that are affected by the largest producers of pollutants and changing the atmosphere are the largest, richest industrial nations on this planet, with disregard for the people that live within their own countries and outside of their own countries. Micronesia, the name alone tells you it's small, it says micro. And it's out in the Western Pacific, and Guam is one of those 300 islands. And all you have to do now is look at what's happening in Haiti. What's happening in Haiti? The earthquakes and the hurricanes and the climate change, they're leaving. They're heading to, they're going through Central America. They're trying to survive. And yet in this country, we're putting them on airplanes and shipping them right back to a place that has basically is struggling to remain habitable. And that's part of the problem. You have Russia. I mean, how do you kill a sea? The Ural Sea, they deliberately diverted the water because they thought they could control nature, and now the sea is dried up. And hundreds of thousands of people depended on that sea for fishing and their
Mm,
livelihood. You also have, just look at the Colorado River. Oh, come on now, it doesn't even go into the sea. They're talking about
yeah.
millions of Americans that get their water from the Colorado River. This planet can only sustain so many people only. And I'm going to put a big thing about that because all they want to talk about is population control and not controlling what man does to the climate and to the species. When you pull up plants and you have longer wetting seasons and stuff like we have in Philadelphia, 16 warmer fall days above normal, it affects the entire system of the planet. And when you
Well,
kill the oceans, the planet's dead.
I'm pretty disturbed because it's wordly. It's not just Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and states that are near us, but it's all over the world that these things are happening. And Jerome, you travel a lot. What do you think is going on?
Well, well, Ms. Trudy, you're absolutely right. It is happening all over the world. You know, when we talk about climate change, sometimes we need to think about things like the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the oxygen consumed in the world, and they're cutting down thousands of acres, tens of thousands of acres of rainforest a year, and that contributes directly to climate change because there's less air being produced by the Amazon rainforest. And Ms. Kathy Lee is absolutely right. It is the about the 15% of the world population that is Western Europe, United States, Canada, Australia, that produces about 80% of the gases that are causing this problem with the climate. And as long as these gases are produced, as long as the industrialized nations are continuing to produce like that, the planet is going to be heading in one direction. You have to have things like pollution in the
Yeah,
sea.
disaster.
You have species that are dying. You know,
Yeah,
one of the problems with climate change is that every year a species are just becoming extinct. Species of animals, species of fish, species of insects, species of birds. I live here in Philadelphia, and I can tell you this: there are tens of thousands less pigeons in Philadelphia today than there were 50, 60 years ago. You know, and those are the effects of climate change.
I totally
well,
agree, but go ahead, Trudy.
but years ago, Al Gore, I don't know if you remember that name, he was running for vice president, and he used to talk about this, and they booed him. They wouldn't let him come in and even make his presentation. And here it is that we're looking for the man now to tell us what can we do. What do you think we can do?
Well, I think one of the first things that we need to do is change it from climate change to climate collapse, because it really needs to be front and center to the people of this country. I'm not going to talk about the other countries because I don't live there. You know, and it's hitting you all in the face from Texas to Philadelphia. I mean, come on now, the Schuylkill River was was on the parkway.
That
I mean,
wasn't
think
funny.
about it. It was on the parkway. But you know, when
I
you don't
know.
have concern for others and for the planet and for the globe, I mean, of course you're going to do things. I mean, they're fracking, and it's all big businesses, and they're fighting the New Deal. And it's really only concerning how can I make money? And they're all for policies and they're all for all of the stuff, but they look at the political cost before they even look at the cost to humanity and the cost to the diverse species and stuff that we have on this planet. They put their pocketbooks first and they put people last. And politicians put their power seat, the illusion of power seat first, and put the people that live in their communities last. And that's part of the
You
problem.
know,
They're starting to come on board. Go ahead, Jerome.
Kathy Lee, and an example of that is what happened in Flint, Michigan. The water in Flint, Michigan was
Yes.
diverted as a political issue by a Republican governor. The water was so bad that General Motors plant said we can't use it. The politicians in Flint, Michigan changed the water for the General Motors plant, but they kept the dirty water coming into the city. That's climate change and that's political. Matter of fact, it's been said it's racial. But that kind of climate change and those kind of issues, the political and the business issues, are ones that are affecting this planet dramatically. You know, the recent floods recently in places like New York City that flooded out the subway system in Brooklyn and Queens. And you're right, Kathy Lee, about the Schuylkill River inundating the Crosstown Expressway. You know, that's never happened. You know, but those are the things that are a result of climate change. The rivers are getting higher. The sea is coming in and saying, hey, you know, the world
Well,
is our ocean. And, you know, we have to be aware of that. So unless, you know, especially industrialized nations take the lead on this, You're right, Kathy. Climate collapse is what it's about.
It's
What can
always
we
been
do
about
though,
climate collapse.
as citizens of this country? There must be something that we can do. Maybe it's only writing out Congress people.
Well, you're on the
Well, one
right
of the
path.
things is Trudy, is we have to change our consumer habits. And that goes back to things like plastic in the ocean. There's no reason for the bulk of the people who drink bottled water to drink bottled water because the water in 85% of the places in America is pretty clean. So why do we drink bottled water and throw that plastic in the ocean? You know,
Yeah,
fuel for your
it's
car. You know, electric cars are becoming popular now, but even still, you know, everybody's got a car. There are over 209 million cars in America. We're going to have to do things like public transportation versus everybody having a car in their front yard.
well,
Well, one
you
of the
do
things,
even.
going back to the politics, Trudy, just to piggyback on the question you asked and Jerome, is, we need to support Ocasio Cortez and the Green New Deal. We need to support Biden's infrastructure plan because he's talking about climate change. But then you have people like
Mhm.
Manchin and Sinema and all those other people that do not want to shake or rattle and roll the coal industry. Come on, who uses coal? They're saving jobs to create black lung in people. So I mean, it's I understand the fear of the population that's going to be affected if they shut down the coal mines. I understand they need to earn a living and coal mining is all that they know. But these politicians see what's happening. If they didn't, they wouldn't be shooting billionaires up in space. And if you cannot live on this planet and respect its
How you make it?
diversity,
Yeah,
what makes you think you're going to go to another
right.
planet and do any better? For example, historical perspective. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. When the first Europeans arrived in the English colonies here, they wrote about the rivers were teeming with fish. You could see them on the surface. There were so many. They had forests that went on and trees that went on. You couldn't even see the end of where the trees went. When they got here, it was a pristine, healthy, working environment. But within 200 years of their arrival, they created right here in this country what they left in Europe, which is why they left. They migrated here because of the resources that were here. They had Ben Franklin with the raccoon hat. Look at this fur. And all of a sudden, the people over there, not only do they need their drugs of tobacco and sugar, now they need some freaking furs too. So there you go. And off they go. Off to the races. Like flying around like brown bats in broad daylight. Why can't I echolocute myself home? I can't find myself home. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, with advancement and with improvement of where you live, you don't always look to the right things to do that. For instance, another subject that has been going around for quite some time is solar energy to, to curb some of those things that you're talking about. But we don't hear about it enough. We don't even try it. Where are we using it?
Well, Trudy, I don't mean to cut you off or not let you in, Jerome. We had a company that came here to our house, got our electric bill or the gas bill, and talked about putting solar panels on our house. Well, guess what? 7, 8 months later, we never get. Look, that's been 4 years now. We still haven't gotten our solar panels, and so that's part of the challenge. With the houses. But when the School of the Future was built, it was built with all renewable sources in it. But going back to Jerome with the water, if you don't have clean water to drink, and people are
Yeah,
skeptical after Flint, that actually increased the number of people buying bottled water, and even the
Yes, it
plastics
did.
that it's in. Because it's like we're hamsters on a treadmill, spinning, 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 and we don't know what to do. But it's also, look at the money made by Coca-Cola, the corporations that bottle all of those things under different names. Dasani, call it Dasani water. Get yourself some filters and put them in every house so people will drink the tap water. But there are chemicals in the water because of
water.
the
Yeah, there you
pollutants,
go.
and it's called. I'm trying to think of the name. What they called it. I found it. The American Medical Association is involved in all this. I think, and all the other people, scientists and stuff. There are about 50 different organizations that are talking about climate change and how it affects people and everything else like that. But it's absolutely it's beyond insanity. It's insanity. You only have one
You
planet.
know,
Go ahead,
Kathy
Kathy.
Lee, what you
You're
said
on.
about putting filter in your home, to filter your own water at home. That would just save so much pollution by people throwing out these water bottles. And the water bottles themselves are, you know, pollutants to the water. So if the people would just home should have a water filter to filter out many of the pollutants that are coming in through the water. And you're right, the situation in Flint, Michigan caused bottled water sales to increase. You know,
Yeah, but
Well,
and we're not even going to get into the racial aspect of climate change because many of the factories and plants that are the pollutants were built in neighborhoods that were adjacent to Black and Hispanic neighborhoods.
that is
well, I
correct.
see one little glimmer of hope where the department, I mean, where the grocery stores are saying no more bags. You know, those plastic bags that you get all your food in. A lot of them are changing that. You're gonna have to take your own bag. So maybe that's a start.
Well, that'll save me a lot of money because if they give me a bag, I'm going to fill every daggone bag they have. If I have to bring four of my own bags, I'm going to fill it with just four things. But just another little historical fact. When you look at the city of Philadelphia proper now, everybody thinks of the big metropolis now, but Philly was only like from the Delaware River. Really up to the Schuylkill River, that little small little area, so they had four areas there. And, like Fairmount Park was created to preserve the drinking water of Philadelphia. People slaughtered their pigs in the middle of the street in Philadelphia. 18th century Philadelphia was a funky, funky, funky place to live. They put their crappers next to their drinking wells and trying to figure out, why am I getting sick? Why am I getting sick? So Biddle built the waterworks, and where the art museum was the first reservoir in the city. But even High Street, Market Street was High Street. If you go down to Delaware, if you want to talk about how man has changed the environment and is affecting everyone else, just look at Philadelphia. When you
But wait
go
a minute, before you go there, Kathy, you're saying how man changed, but for those changes that were made were received and they're still in use. So we can make changes. The problem now is, can we go further? Can we step over that now and get some more changes that bring us back to normal?
Well, you have to go to what Jerome and what Biden and what Ocasio Cortez and what the people that were born at this time are really pushing. And that is basically, we must learn to understand that it's to our benefit to live with respect and our dependence on all of the planet's species, including other humans. And our lack of willingness to address this climate collapse and the depletion of this planet's resources will be our demise because we all need this planet and everything it has to offer in order to do so, to live. And we need to do that. We need to go back to those types of things. And instead of blaming overpopulation as the cause, which is what the system does, and blaming the blatant just blame the blatant disrespect we feel towards one group or another, and we go to water secure and take the resources from below the ground as well
And
above
we
it.
take things for
And
granted.
well, some people take things for granted. There are people all across this planet, Trudy, that do not even take a drop of water for granted because they don't have it. And that's
Mm.
talking about recyclables. So name a war that wasn't fought over resources and who benefits from those resources and who doesn't benefit. Just look at Afghanistan. Ask Dorothy and the Scarecrow and Toto and the lion what happened when they ran through the poppy fields. They all fell
Yeah.
asleep from them opioids in them flowers because poppies leads to opium. And we were there 20 years to create 20 years of addicts. Just look at Kensington Avenue and look on YouTube and see what's happening there.
And look at the guy
Yeah,
who smokes and
what we
throws
did
his
in
lunch right
Afghanistan
there
was
on
a
the
major
ground.
travesty.
Well, we're going to talk about that after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to continue our discussion about climate change and some of the things that we can do, perhaps. And I think, Kathy, you kind of started that role when you mentioned recycle.
With recycling, well, what I'm really annoyed with is that I had over 30,000 recycling points and I lost my password. And now they have ended the recycling program in Philadelphia. And one of the reasons why they ended it, and you want to talk about, I mean, if you go to Haiti, we have shipped tons of our filth and our refuse to Haiti because no one in America wants what they throw away here in the United States. So they send it to Haiti. And then you see them taking the people from Haiti who have to live with that, who have earthquakes that are now coming here because of the collapse of the climate. And you treat them like the same garbage you shipped right back over there that we ship to Haiti. We treat the people of Haiti just like we're treating the garbage that we send to Haiti, because a lot of the poorer countries are taking they're shipping it, they're putting it on barges and shipping it away from themselves to keep what they have pristine and clean. So recycling is very important, but knowing how to recycle has been one of the challenges because China said, we ain't taking your crap anymore. We're not going to spend,
You
it
know,
costs too much for the people to clean it.
many countries in Africa are also rejecting the waste that's coming from America under the name of recycling. Matter of fact, if you go through, and I watch a lot of NBA, and they have a program called NBA in Africa, and you see these poor kids in T-shirts with American names on them. A lot of that stuff was sent there because of our recycling of, with this fast clothing that can be worn, 5 or 6 times, wash it once or twice, and then throw it away. That stuff ends up in landfills or ends up in other countries because we ship it out of America. People don't want our waste anymore. So we have to clean up our waste and waste less. And the fact that the recycling program in Philadelphia is defunct is an example of the fact that the way it's been managed in America has worked. So we need to change it. It's not just about, no more plastic bags. Obviously, those plastic bags were a huge pollutant, but it's more than just getting rid of those plastic bags, because those plastic bags are a recent phenomenon. You didn't have plastic bags in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s. It came about now in the last 20, 25 years that everything comes in a cheap plastic bag. If you look at packaging of our industrial goods, you go to the store and you buy something now, half the thing is you got to throw away plastic to get to what you purchased. And a lot of that is the security issue because the companies don't want to get sued by people getting in there and reselling their goods. So recycling is something that has been tried and it needs to change. And it needs
Well,
to
you're right.
continue, but continue in a new form.
You're right, Jerome. The plastic bags, however, have been very helpful to us. What we have to do is to find out what is better than the plastic bags. And writing to our Congress people, Kathy, as we talked a little earlier and mentioning that, is something that we can do as people. Learn to appreciate our surfaces, our earth, and how to take care of it. And we have to do that as individuals, not just as a thought or dream. It has to be an individual act. And that's something that we can do as people. So, folks, as our last words, Kathy, your last one, and then Jerome, you wind it up and we'll be out of here on time.
Okay. Thank you, Trudy. I think my last words is that we need to, as a species on this planet, recognize our oneness with not only just nature or animals, but with each other. When you don't see the humanity of first of all, well, you know what? How you treat your community is how you treat other people. If you throw things on the street and you don't think anything of it, it becomes so normal to you. And You don't remember that the house burnt down because all of a sudden it's invisible to you. You don't see it. But open your eyes and see it. Take care of where you live.
Jerome?
Thank you, Kathy. And I'm just going to say amen, amen, amen. Thank you, darling.
That's African. Amun.
Glad to have you with us at all times. So don't forget to enjoy and to come back to next week. See you then and have a good day.